Hello, humans of the internet. This is a special Astronomy Cast summer hiatus ninja stream. I am by myself without Fraser. And while they don't exactly replace him, I have three furry friends with me, one of whom is a visitor and wearing a donut of shame. And we're here to find out what you want to do next season. And one of the things we always tell you is we use this summer to set up things for the new season. And I'm going to let you in behind the scenes while I do that. Sneaky stream isn't getting past you. Good to know. Good to know. So one of those things that was on my summer to-do list was setting up, as is over here, Wirecast to be how we stream Astronomy Cast in the future. So this episode is going to be a bit meta because I am streaming with OBS and showing you setting up Wirecast, so in the future I can get rid of OBS and use Wirecast. So it is streaming software all the way down. So as I set out to do this, I'm going to say hello to the people that I see. Hello, Von Lichtenbutts. Hello, Mr. Tom Harden. Hello, Andy Cowley. Hello, George Lancaster. Hello, Coalfire. Hello, Kylie Cerna. Hello, Sidemount. Hello, Carolyn B. Hello, Kevin N. And hello, Johnny Z. Yes, this was very stealthy of me today. So you did get special warning that this would be coming if you're one of our Patreon patrons, or even if you just follow the Patreon account. So, unsubtle hint, you get warning if you're a patron. Okay, so what I want to do right now is two things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up some place that I can write down show ideas that you want to pitch. And the second thing that I'm going to do is work on setting up Wirecast. And the third thing I'm going to do, because apparently I'm going to do all the things, is I'm going to show you what you can do to help out a little spacecraft called OSIRIS-REx. Richard Hayes, hi! Hi. You did not miss it quite. Hello, Nichols of the Yard. Hello, Cherry. Hello, George Lancaster. Hello, Janelle Duncan. Hello, everyone. Okay. So, to get all the things on the screen. So here is a window for Astronomy Cast season. Oh wow, we started in 2006, so season 14 ideas. So if you have an idea, I'm going to write it down right here, and we will have it for the fall. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage you guys to help us out with some science. So right now, if your screen is big enough, you can open more than one window at a time. Hello, S. Wahlberg. Hello, Paul Disney. Yes, it is time to count rocks. You know exactly where I'm going with this. So this is our now starting to be infamous Bennu Mappers project. We are working to find a good place for the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft to touch down, grab a sample, and quickly bounce away. Hello, Astro Live channel. Now, the spacecraft has size. We don't want to damage it. We need to make sure that we can find an area big enough for the spacecraft to fit between all the boulders, all the rocks, and we need to find a place where there's actually soil that we can sample. Now, let me show you what we thought Bennu would look like. So this is our app. This is what Bennu actually looks like. Now I'm going to click the Take the Tutorial. And the images in the Take the Tutorial are Itokawa. We use this to set up our software, to train people on how to use it. And this is what we thought Bennu would look like. And we were wrong. So wrong. So, yeah, we were expecting images that would have a couple of craters, maybe a dozen small boulders, 50 to 100 rocks. What we got instead is this. And what we're asking everyone to do is to find a rock, or a boulder in this case, and draw a line along the longest axis of the rock. And this is actually a fairly easy image because the rocks, the boulders in this case, are pretty big and take up a bunch of space. Some of them are super gnarly looking, like this one that just looks like it's been chewed up over time. And in addition to marking all of these boulders that sometimes span into other images, we're also asking you to mark the smaller things in the image just by marking where their centers are. Now, you could go crazy and mark dust if you felt like it, but we like you. Please don't do that. You will never finish anything if you do that. So go ahead and use the mark tool to mark things that are up to 3 times the size of the blue dot, and then use the boulder measurement tool to measure everything else. Now, one of the trickstery things about Bennu is it's more of a rubble pile than an actual solid asteroid like we're used to thinking of. It may literally be boulders upon rocks, mixed with rocks with more boulders, all just kind of gravitationally glommed together. And this means that craters don't look the way they do on worlds that are completely solid. And so this right here, this dusty place that I did a horrible job marking the edges of, this dusty place right here, and I can blink my tools on and off, I think that's actually a crater. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it. So we have an extension on this project until the dog wearing the donut of shame was scratching and almost got scolded, but he stopped. We have an extension to July 22nd to try and finish this. And we need everyone to help us, everyone who possibly can, if we're going to complete this on time. So far, more than 6 million measurements of rocks have taken place. We're about 2/3 of the way through. We need your help to get the rest of the way done with this project. So you too can join me in mapping boulders, mapping rocks, mapping craters by going to Bennu Mappers at bennu.cosmoquest.org. Now, I'm currently doing a kind of terrible job of keeping up with the chat because it turns out I can't look at Bennu and look at the chat at the same time. So I'm going to pause and look at the chat. Very cool tools. Wow, I might get my kids to do it with me. This is actually a really cool thing to do with kids. Don't set them loose doing it on their own if they're like kids. It actually requires a fair amount of dexterity to do this, and we find that kids that are younger than about 6th grade just really can't do this task accurately. but it's something that you guys can do together. And there's the link. So I'm seeing that Nichols of the Yard asks, what does the shape and distribution of all those rocks tell us about the formation of Bennu? Well, it's not so much the formation of Bennu as perhaps its ultimate fate. So there's a whole lot of science that still needs to be done. I write software for the team. I'm not a team scientist. So all I can tell you is my best guesses, which are not going to be part of publications. It's my software and database analysis that will be making contributions. If this actually is a rubble pile, there's a good chance that this asteroid essentially had the shit knocked out of it at some point in its history, and it gravitationally tried to come back together. And while all the rubble from whatever horrible incident led to the asteroid being knocked apart, all of that rubble gravitationally came back together, creating a rubble pile. It really seems to be an object that isn't too different than an interplanetary dump truck filled with planetary construction materials hitting a giant interplanetary pothole and losing its load somewhere out in the orbit of Earth. It's exactly what I never quite imagined. Every time an astronomer has talked about a rubble pile, it's okay, baby. So I have a dog with a cone of shame on his head who's awaiting a vet appointment later today. And if he's whining, I'm very sorry. He is scheduled to go to the vet to find out why he's whining. So I personally had always imagined rubble pile asteroids as consisting of really large chunks with necks connecting the chunks, like we saw with the rubber duck shaped CG 69, I think was the number, 67, the comet that the Rosetta mission explored, where you basically in these cases have big chunks that are way bigger than what we're seeing here, and then dust scattered where those chunks come together. It turns out, well, each of these images is about 5 centimeters per pixel, about 22.5 meters across. This is the size of a football end zone. We're looking at an object that is made of gravel, stones, and boulders the size of garden sheds. This is very different from anything I had imagined. My imagination was clearly lacking in comparison to our solar system. Looking to see if there's any more questions. Thank you, Marcel Jean, for seeing what you can do. George Lancaster, I missed what you're coding. 67P Cherry Gerasimenko. Thank you, Marcel. Why is Fraser so furry today? So he is off enjoying being on hiatus, and I am first showing you guys exactly what goes into mapping an image on Bennu, and then I'm going to be working on developing next year's theme. And since we had been promising you that there would be random things coming to you this summer, I figured I might as well live stream to you exactly what it is that you can look forward to seeing when we come out of hiatus in September. And since our current theme is set up for both Fraser and I to be here, well, Fraser got replaced with my dogs. They are smarter than he is. Sorry, he is smarter than they are. I said that backwards. He is smarter than they are. They are cuter than he is. Some of you may think the opposite, but personally, I think Fraser is far smarter than they are, and they are far cuter than he is. That is not a slight against Fraser. This is me saying I have cute dogs. Okay. I'm going to stop putting my foot in my mouth now and just mark rocks. Just mark rocks. Now, one of the things you may notice is there are shiny rocks. We don't fully understand the shiny rocks. It could be salts. It could be ices. We don't know. There are stripy rocks that look like they're sedimentary, but they shouldn't be because this is a gravel asteroid, not something that should have sedimentary layers. This is a really weird world, and I can't wait to be able to explain to you what all folks are finding as they explore this not quite a world pile of rocks. I'm hitting the point of what is left that is big. So if I appear to be looking at a strange angle, it's because I'm on a really big monitor and I have my chat down low. I have the Bennu mappers up high, and then I actually on a second screen have Slack set up. Yes, Marcel, we're totally going to take a sample. Oh, that's cool, George, that you used to name your dogs after the stars. Ours all have very different names. Eddie is named after a character in the TV show Nurse Jackie. Stella is named from a character in the Tennessee Williams play, so that we can stand on the patio and yell, Stella! And Malachi is named after an Old Testament prophet and was named by the Rescue Association that he is getting fostered for. I don't think you could have a weirder combination of names. You probably could, but I think we have a suitably weird set right now. Yeah, just one asbesto. There are so many rocks. Our Discord for CosmoQuest about Bennu is a place of glorious rocky puns. It is a thing that can only be experienced, not accurately described. And if you are mapping, it's a good thing to have turned on just for moral support, because everyone is going through the same thing together. Looking to see if there are any other clearly defined rocks, and realizing I maybe need to get reading glasses, and that makes me sad. This whole getting older thing is just no good at all. Okay, I'm gonna mark a couple more rocks. These appear to all be too small. Those probably need marked. Okay, and I'm gonna call that good. So it just goes on and on and on and on and on. There are so many rocks, and Astro YYZ is mapping as she listens. That is amazing. Hey Paul, welcome. Hey Andy, I think I already said hello to you. Okay, so beyond being ready to take your show ideas, beyond mapping Bennu, which I hope all of you will help me with, the other thing that I wanted to do is we are going to be, depending on which of us is producing the stream, changing how we stream next year to use new software called Wirecast. Now, some of you may remember that Fraser tried using this software with Google Hangouts, what feels now like a million years ago, and got frustrated because at the time the tools were just way too complicated to use. Well, technologies have changed and this software has gotten better with age. So we're going to be working on setting this up to be what we use moving forward, just because this is more powerful software. It's going to offer us more tools. And yeah, it's good to see that you're also mapping Carolyn B. Okay, so the thing that I'm going to start with is there's a variety of different layers. The background layer I am going to use to put a background, because that seems like what one should do for a background layer. Now, you do need to click the plus sign in order to add things. Now what I'm going to do is look. So I said I want to add a background, and they have different things that I can try out that are built in. There's solid color, there's a virtual set. I don't actually know what that is, but I don't pay for a pro version of the software. I could add a web page. What I actually want to do is just drop a plain image in. And this is where I stare, trying to figure out, there we go, browse disk. And it wants to let me add a video. I actually just want to add an image. So I think I'm going to look in my other software to find the name of the image I want. So what I want is our standard Astronomy Cast background as a starting point. Let me show that to you real fast so you know what I'm looking for. So that's the image that I want to start with. And it is named ACOBS background because I was lame when I named things. Apparently I have two different versions of this. I don't know why I have two different versions of this. I just apparently have two different versions of this. So I'm going to add both of them and see what the difference between the two of them is. Aha! Okay, so I have two different Astronomy Cast backgrounds. They're both things that I want. And now I just want to start layering things on top of this. So looking to see what people are typing into the chat. Janelle Duncan is saying, where will we watch it change? What are we watching change? Mapping also rocks. Oh, YouTube. Sorry. You should have seen on YouTube. Remembering the days of 8.3 file names. I don't know what that means, so I may not be remembering 8.3 file names. Was that 8 characters dot 3 characters for the extension? I would be so dead. I have way too many files to deal with that. It's good to see so many of you currently mapping. Thank you so much. Okay, so the kinds of things that we have around here on our screen are, for instance, the Slack chat that's down beneath. So I'm going to go ahead and try and add that as a new layer that can float on top. I used to be a Windows and DOS. Well, no, I actually was never. I used Windows for a while. I started on an Apple, just like flat out Apple when I was a little kid. Eventually moved to an Apple II, 2 Plus, 2E, and I went from the Apple IIe to using Windows 3.1. And then I stayed with Windows until Windows XP. I loved Windows XP, but someone in the building where I worked loved to write viruses for Windows XP. And after I was one of the first 50 people to catch a port swimming virus twice, I switched to a Mac, and I have never gone back. Okay, so what I wanted to do now is I want to screen capture my Slack window, and this is where I'm going to look around my screen and see if it decides to share my entire screen, if this is bad for anything. I don't think so. So Beth remembers those days. Same problem with creating email addresses. Wow. So I had university assigned email addresses for my first several email addresses. And then eventually I actually had a Hotmail account back when that was the thing to have. And then I went to Google and I never looked back. I know you don't have an audio capture driver installed. You are fine without having an audio capture device installed. You really want to install an audio driver. Okay, I will let you install an audio driver and I will give you my fingerprint. The software is very demanding. And is going to demand that I open security preferences. There we go. I allowed it. You guys are, I love the way everyone finds different critters in the rock patterns on Bennu. So Wirecast is software I've used on a different computer, so this is the first time I've set it up on this computer. I'm sorry that you're now watching it install audio components. It looks like I may be able to do things while it is contemplating the audio components. So what I have up here is a giant screen capture, but I don't want to capture that screen. I want to configure this so that I can capture my Slack, which is on the other screen. And I only want to capture part of the screen. And one of the reasons that we're switching to using this software is it allows you to very easily just drag around what it is that you're trying to select. So I just finished selecting a region. It embiggened it enormously. I need to find a corner so I can make this smaller or find different options. So this is where you get to see just how much more powerful this software is, and there we go. So what I can do now is, instead of dragging it around like I would in OBS, I can just do that and say, hey, put it at the position 0, 0, and now we can see Beth and Gordon's messages, and I can reduce the scale further. And so this is how we can grab your Slack messages and bring them in. Now, if someone from the Weekly Space Hangout wants to get me a square logo, I will put your logo right next to your chat on our new Astronomy Cast layout. Now, on our current layout, if I wanted to show two of us at once, which currently is going to look like complete garbage. Let me clean this up a little bit, and I'll show you what the two-up view looks like without Fraser and I being on it. So that's what we currently have. Oh, Guido, thank you so much for finding the square logo. Thank you. So when I did the two-up logos for OBS, I drew a whole bunch of squares by hand. Those are hand-drawn. With this software, I think I actually have the capacity to use built-in layouts that are designed for media productions. So there's a clock, an image carousel, a QR code generator, text. Let's see what the title screens look like. So the title screens include these two-up ivory boxes, these two-up ocean boxes. We have black and white two-box. So there's a bunch of different things that I can choose from. And then there's also these cards that I can overlay video on top of. So what exactly would you guys like to see? And if some of these layouts look super familiar, it's because they're the same layouts that a lot of news places use if they're kind of cheap. So if you don't have money to do custom, or like me, you're just being lazy, you can just use the built-in stuff. Oh, there is the Weekly Space Hangout crew logo. Let me work on adding this in. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out. You're being reduced in scale. I'm sorry, Beth. I didn't mean to reduce you in scale. Hello, Yamaguchi-san. Okay. I want to add a new image on this layer. So I'm going to come up here to where there's a stack. I'm going to try and come up here to where there's a stack. There we go. And I'm going to add in a media file. I'm going to browse the disk. I am going to get caught in the glare off my monitor. And so the file that I'm looking for is WSH logo _2_ website. There we go. Open. So let me try and clean this up. Hello, I am hiding the image above. It is confusing my layout. Okay, so now I can see the Slack layout again. I'm gonna reduce this a little bit. So this is the kind of stuff that you guys aren't necessarily aware of that we have going on in the background to get this show to you every single week. And I kind of enjoy doing this stuff, so it works out really well. But it does take us time, which is where our summers get used. Hello, David Reynolds. Okay, so we now have the Weekly Space Hangout crew at the bottom. We now have I need preferences, people. I need your ideas on how I should make Fraser and I up here. So a lot of these things that they're suggesting are all sorts of fancy pants. I'm glad that you're enjoying seeing behind the scenes. Hello, PsychoCat749. So if you see something you like, speak up, because I'm just mostly going, too many choices. Like this. This seems like a reasonable choice. That is very big. That is very, very big. I can control that, however. So the problem with using this one is it eats our Astronomy Cast logo in the background. So I don't actually want to do this as much as I thought I want to do this. Okay. So let's kill this. Should use one of the color frames that correspond with your color scheme. That's what I was trying to do, and then I realized that the framing actually will cause it to lose this right here. So I think what I want to do is actually just grab the title-y bits. There's totally a color scheme. So we have a color scheme. It's the one that you see on the screen. And purple would clash in the most spectacular of ways. I use a lot of purple over on my Star Strider stuff, though. So if you like purple, check out my Star Strider stuff. Okay, so trying to find a title thing that doesn't clash terribly. And so what I'm looking for is simply the title-y things. So I'm going to use 2 of these title-y things so I can label Fraser and I. And I'm going to deal with my computer being like, no, too many things, must whirly rainbow. And one of the problems that you hit with this software is it likes to full screen things. So I suspect that when I resize, it's not going to resize the text. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to resize this down to a size that will let me put both of us on the screen. And then I'm going to note the size. So I'm going to make this 44% because that's easy to replicate. And then I'm going to have to grab separately from that the specific titles. And I'm not going to use all of these, so I'm going to delete that one because I know I'm not going to use it. I will use that one. I will use that one. I have no clue where on the screen that is, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to try and delete it. It doesn't want to let me delete it. There we go. And I'm going to delete that one. Okay, so now we have something that's completely reasonable. Things are just in the wrong place. And the first one that I do is going to be for Fraser. Now, since I made the image itself 44%. I'm also going to make this 44%. That is super tiny. I may change that in a moment. Let me add some words to this. So this is going to be universe today. This is Fraser's title. Let's just do publisher, universe today. Phase in idea. Okay, let me scroll up. You should phase in as if from nowhere. I don't know how to do that, but I can probably figure it out. It might scare someone. I'll see what's possible. I'll see what's possible. Okay, so let me grab this giant title. I'm going to adjust its size, but since I'm already on the screen where you add names, I'm going to add Fraser's name. Fraser Kane. Now I'm going to resize it. And I can probably go bigger with both of the sets of words. This is so meta, having basically the new video production software inside the old video production software. But sometimes meta is what happens. Okay, so that was overkill. But with this software, I can type numbers in and use arrow keys and a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't readily do in OBS. So like one of the things that I can do is I can scroll down, I can look at the font size, I can look at the font style, the font variant, and I'm okay with all of that. Fade in on camera and then fade out. So I think what I have to do is figure out how to get it to do a smooth transition between different windows. I think I can figure out how to do it. I think I've seen how to do that before, I just haven't actually done it. That doesn't really want to fit there. Fraser's title is too long. I will make it fit. This is my job today, is to make it fit. And then once I get all of this to work, I just duplicate it for my stuff, basically. Hello, Sammy. So this ninja stream is just me showing you guys behind the scenes how I'm setting up. I'm being poked by a dog. How I'm setting up to do a new theme for the show for next season. It's just a little something on a Friday afternoon. We always talk about how the summers are for setting up, and I'm just demonstrating it. Okay, I'm gonna call that good enough. I'm going to now try and fix. The dog is licking my elbow. I'm now going to try and fix Fraser's name. Hi, dog. This means the dog wants to go OUT, and she does know that word. So I'm going to get all the titles on, and then I'm probably going to drop off for the day. But you guys are welcome to ask any questions you want while you have me here. Now, if you are hungry for science news and want something in addition to Universe Today, we've been producing the Daily Space over on twitch.tv from CosmoQuest, and you are all invited. That did not do what I expected. There we go. You are all invited to join me over there as well this summer. And we do basically a half-hour news show every day. So I now just need to replace some of these things with my name. Star Trek transporter effect. Let me see if there is one. Let me just finish this text. Hold on. I need to click here. I need to click here. That was the wrong window. So Wirecast is both easier and harder to use than OBS. It has much better tools, but it's also harder to find them sometimes. I would watch all the time if you're willing to broadcast it. Absolutely love your dog. Oh, I'm so sorry that you lost yours after 17 years. I had that happen with my dog Leah, who I'd had longer than anything in my life except for my Jeep Wrangler, and I'd only had the Jeep a couple of months longer than I had the dog. Yeah, and Eddie I found on the side of the road a few months later, and he filled the dog-sized place I had. Okay, so here we go. We have places to put both of our video. I'm going to drop my video in and then see about that Star Trek transporter effect that y'all are asking for. So let me look. And David, you should follow me on twitch.tv/starstrider. I'm hoping to be able to start doing more streaming. But for now, I want to add a video layer to this. So let's add video capture. Let's add my conference camera. And that is huge and terrifying. So I'm going to start by shrinking it down, trying to shrink it down. There we go. And I don't want this aspect ratio. So let's rearrange the layers. And then I'm going to do a little bit of cropping. If I can remember where to crop, there it is. I'm going to start by rescaling just a little bit. Let's scale this down a little bit more so it doesn't go all the way up to the top. There, that's fine. And now I am going to crop the left. I love being able to just slide a slider to do that. And then I'm going to crop from the right. Not too much, too much. There. Okay, I'm going to call that good for now. So you guys requested a transporter effect. Let me see what options I have. Some of these are terrifying. Okay, so let's go between that and clear layout. So let me see if I can get it to transport out. I don't know what many of these things are. Let's try a grid wipe. Okay, that's slightly terrifying. Let's not try a grid wipe. Let's see what the fade does. Fade to black. That will do the whole scene, I think. Yeah, that does the whole scene. So that's not quite what we are looking for. It would be cool, but probably against copyright if they had something that just said Star Trek transporter. Vacuum is terrifying, but we're gonna find out what it is. Don't like. No. I may need to poke around the internet and see. Let's try cross dissolve. So cross dissolve is completely reasonable, and it's what I normally use. It's not exactly the Star Trek dissolve, but it sure is the most pleasing. So I think we're gonna go with that. So now all I need is Fraser and his lovely face to add into this, and your ideas on what else you'd like to see. Let me switch over to a better view if I have one. Let's see. That's a view of my dogs. Let's see what 2 up looks like. Okay, I don't have a better thing set up. So I will work on setting things up. There are so many dogs in here. You just can't see dogs. And Eddie is a sight to behold at the moment. So there's Eddie sleeping against the dog's door. So I'm going to be doing ninja streams, not every Friday, but periodically throughout the summer. Can I add dinosaurs? I need more context for that. And you make me want to add the random chicken going across the screen, because chickens are dinosaurs. If you're an audible.com listener, one of the 2 free downloads this month is a book on dinosaurs. It's only a couple of hours. I listened to it on the airplane ride here, and it is fabulous, and birds are dinosaurs. I currently have 3 dogs. Yamaguchi-san, that's adorable. So that is Eddie. This is Malachi, who is a foster dog who's staying with us. And Stella is somewhere. Stella is directly under my chair. You don't get to see that on the webcam. So we are at 3 dogs currently. Maze, who I'd been fostering before, was adopted out. And for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of brood rescue programs throughout the United States where people who have extra room and extra time open their house up for a dog that doesn't have space in a shelter. And Malachi here had been in the Peoria shelter for, since before Christmas. And it was realized he just wasn't going to get adopted. And so they either needed to find a foster or Well, we didn't let that or happen. And so Malachi is now sitting there wearing the donut of shame because he was neutered earlier this week. Remember, folks, spay and neuter your dogs, because while dogs can't multiply or I'm getting this wrong. While dogs can't add or subtract, they sure can multiply. And I can't always math. Yes, Malachi is wearing a donut of shame. It is an inflatable collar that is kind of like having an airplane pillow attached to your neck. Yeah, thanks to anyone who adopts a rescue. So yeah, I do breed rescue. Anyways, I'm going to go take care of these furry mutts, do some research, and so I see Gordon is asking, does Wirecast make it easy to package up a theme compared to OBS? Yes, this is in fact why I'm working on switching over to Wirecast. The difference is Wirecast costs a small fortune. I want to say the license is almost $500 per year. But the amount of time that it saves me from fussing is time that I'm turning into other things. And that time essentially pays for the software. So I see that Unc Willie asked, did you hear that the California quakes knocked LIGO offline until they could get the masses back in resonance? I'm not sure if masses is the right word so much as get the lasers back in resonance. That was something that I knew about. For those of you who don't know, last week in California, there were a pair of earthquakes on the Little Lake fault line. These earthquakes were at magnitude 6.4 and 7.1 and were felt between San Diego, Sacramento, and Las Vegas, that basic triangle of the coast. One of the LIGO facilities is located where it got shaken, not stirred. And they now get to realign all their optics. Oof. But this is what the Earth does. It's still warm on the inside. This gives us a magnetic field that allows us to exist. And we surface dwellers just periodically literally get displaced. So I see that Uncle Willie is typing. I'm going to wait and see what he types. So next week, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to make any promises about this summer. There will just be periodic ninja streams. And I'm here. So it looks like Uncle Willie stopped typing. So I'm going to say thank you all for being here. If you have ideas on things that you would like to see done or prepared for next season, drop me a note either on the Weekly Space Hangout Crew Slack or over on the CosmoQuest Discord. I may not get back to you quickly because I get distracted easily by shiny things, but I will get back to you. So thank you all for being here. And wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. And I will see you whenever a ninja stream happens to cause you to see me. Bye-bye. Awkward.